Which Philadelphia Eagles should you be buying in your Dynasty League? We're talking all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Dynasty.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Matt Williamson and Ryan McDowell.
Thanks for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan McDowell. You can follow me on Twitter at RyanMC23. Joining me, as always, is Matt Williamson. Follow Matt on Twitter at WilliamsonNFL. He needs the followers. Go check him out. Matt, how's it going?
It's great, man. How are you? These series are fun and make you really think. I'm excited. Digging into Philadelphia is hard.
I think it's easy to, especially this time of the year, especially if you're already done with your rookie drafts, it's easy to kind of check out and not think about these players or the team situations or what the roster might look like, what the depth chart looks like. So yeah, I get a lot out of these shows and the conversations. I hope our listeners do as well. We're talking buys, sells, and holds. And the Philadelphia Eagles are our topic today. Matt, let's get right to it.
Real quick, Ryan, my favorite thing is when you have a buy and I have a sell, and we both make good points. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, we did that yesterday with Darren Waller. I'm buying Darren Waller. You're a little worried about his transition to a new team and his age and his injury. There's reasons to be concerned. Yeah. We could do the same thing again today, but I'm excited about this Philadelphia Eagles team. I mean, obviously it's hard not to be. They've loaded up once again, added a bunch of players on the defense and the draft, most of them former Georgia Bulldogs. They traded for another former Georgia Bulldog in DeAndre Swift. I'm sure we'll talk about him. I talked about yesterday my new Dynasty startup league I'm doing. It's a super flex league, and I started with a mini stack of the Philadelphia Eagles. My first two picks were Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. So I'm becoming a little bit of a Philadelphia Eagle fan for that reason. So Matt, you said I would not have your buy as my buy. You think we're disagreeing on this one. So who is it? Who are you buying?
I just don't think you'll
Eagles roster.
I'm not selling you short. I just don't think you'll think of it. I dug deep and
okay.
Real quick on the Eagles. I think a couple things we needed. Well, there you go. Real quick on the Eagles, like everyone, I adore this organization for fantasy reasons. I love that they keep pumping resources into O-line, but now they're paying a quarterback. So will they be able to re-sign Devontae Smith? Is AJ Brown the Eagle in 3 years? Things just change with that contract. I just want to throw that out there because they're not going to be on top of the world forever. However, here's my buy. Marcus Mariota. And I thought he was maybe the worst opening day starting quarterback in the entire league last year. I don't think he's good. I've held a candle for this guy, and I've been wrong every step of the way. But what if Jalen Hurts gets hurt? I mean, he plays a very physical brand of football. He takes a lot of hits. And on this team, the buy really could be, I want to buy them all, but they're all expensive, rightfully so. Mariota's cheap as can be. And I definitely want him in Superflex, but if he's one injury away from maybe even being a top 12 quarterback. So I kind of cheated, went off the grid.
You did go off the grid. Marcus Mariota not currently getting drafted in. We're looking at one quarterback. Yeah, we're looking at one quarterback ADP. I don't know. Do you think Mariota is worth a roster spot even in a single quarterback league?
Probably not. I mean, if you own Hurts, that's the only conversation you could have or extremely deep league. But Hurts is a beast, but he takes as many hits as any quarterback in the league.
Yeah, it's never a bad idea to have an insurance policy. That's what Marcus Mariota is. So yeah, if I've got Hurts and I just drafted him in that league, maybe I try to grab Marcus Mariota late in that draft, or if you're already in a league with Hurts, adding Mariota from the waiver wire or flipping a fourth rounder for him. Not a bad idea. I get it. You did surprise me. I'm surprised you went there with so many studs. I mean, AJ Brown is the wide receiver 3. Let's name the names here. These are the players getting drafted in one quarterback DLF ADP. AJ Brown, wide receiver 3. Devontae Smith, wide receiver 20. Jalen Hurts, quarterback 3. DeAndre Swift, running back 19. Dallas Goedert is the tight end 6. Rashad Penny, RB 43. Gainwell, RB 50. Boston Scott, RB 85. So they've got 4 running backs worthy of a roster spot in dynasty leagues. It's hard to pick. You're right, because they are so expensive. Of course, I want AJ Brown. Of course, I want Jalen Hurts. They're top 3 assets at their position. I think I'm going to go with the other guy, and this is a player that I've had my doubts about as he entered the league, and my concerns and my questions are getting answered, and I really, really like watching him play. Devontae Smith is the wide receiver 20. You look at I'm sorry, he's the wide receiver 13. 20 overall is where he is. Wide receiver 13. A little bit of a tougher buy, but I'm still willing to do it because you look at names ahead of him. Drake London, who I like quite a bit. I think I'd rather have Devontae Smith than Drake London. And then you get into some of the older guys. Stephon Diggs is up there. You can have that conversation. So I think Devontae Smith's a little undervalued. You look at his production as a rookie a couple years ago. He gave us 3 wide receiver 1 games. Comes back even better as a sophomore, 4 wide receiver 1 games, including 2 games with over 30 fantasy points. So that's what you get with Devontae Smith, and really with this entire Eagles offense, is you get that sky high ceiling. And AJ Brown is going to put up 30-point games. Jalen Hurts is going to put up 40-point games from time to time. And you can see Goddard, you can see Swift, and those guys with big games as well. There's so many, though. It's going to be consistency is going to be tough, right? I mean, you look at Devontae Smith week 1 last year, 0 fantasy points, no catches at all. And I know I overreacted to that. A lot of people did, but he certainly bounced back in a big way for the remainder of the season. So you're right. Not going to be cheap, but he's the guy that I'm trying to get on my roster right now from this Eagles team.
I hear you. I was very prejudiced against his weight coming out of school.
I was too.
I mean, I just couldn't buy in. I say the same thing about Bryce Young and some of these receivers in this class as well. Boy, am I wrong on him, though. I mean, this guy won the Heisman. I mean, he was the best player in all of college football. Long arms, nasty. We'll talk about AJ Brown in a bit here, but he is really closing the door on AJ Brown, which is all you need to say, because AJ Brown's a superstar.
Yeah.
Not all closing the door, closing the gap. I'm sorry.
Yes. Marcus Mariota, Devontae Smith, 2 ends of the spectrum, a couple players you should be considering getting on your dynasty roster if you can. One's going to be easier to acquire than the other, but go out and make it happen. We are going to continue the Eagles conversation. We're going to talk about a player that we would be selling, getting off of our roster, and that's tough to do when you look at this Eagles team, but we'll try to do that right after this.
Are you looking for a delicious snack but don't want all the sugar and calories, and you need the best tasting protein bar ever? Built. You got to try this. How many times have I been telling you this? It's been over a year now. I've been talking about Built bars. As soon as they come to the house, my son just devours them, so I hardly even get a chance to eat them, but they're phenomenal. So if you want to make healthier snack choices, but you don't want to compromise on taste, it's just the thing for you. Built bars, Built puffs, Built bars are healthy and taste amazing. They taste so amazing, you won't think they're good for you. I mean, you really got to try it. I mean, the 100% real dark chocolate is what stands out on them. And a lot of these bars are really waxy, fake chocolate, but this is real 100% dark chocolate. They have great flavors. I mean, churro, cookies and cream, peanut butter brownie. Peanut butter brownie is really good. I'm not sure how Built does it, but they do taste like a candy bar while maintaining ridiculously good macros. Only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't have to wait to get a box. For years, we've been always talking about order Built bars at Built.com, and you can still do that, of course. But you go to your local Walmart or Sam's Club and get your specialty flavors still at Built.com as well. Go to Walmart today, walk into that pharmacy section and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can get a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puff. Or if you're at Sam's Club, run in and get a 13-bar box of brownie batter puff and churro puff. And thank me later. Built Bar.
Matt, which Philadelphia Eagle are you ready to sell and move off of? I think I know. I'm worried about this one. Who is it?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is none. I want to ride the wave and the green wave and love all these guys. And trust me, I adore A.J. Brown, but sort of in a Bengal, Chase, Higgins, Burrow situation. Can they afford Hurts, Smith, Brown, Goddard for the next 2-3 years? And if one's going to get the axe or get traded, I just worry it might be Brown because he's been around a little longer than Smith. I mean, do they have to make that decision? I know he's the wide receiver 3, and in startups, there's only 2 receivers I'd take ahead of him, so he's worth that. It's just you have to pick one, and that's the direction I went.
Yeah, it is tough to pick. Really, any of these players, especially the names at the top, as one you are ready to move off of. A.J. Brown, as you said, the wide receiver 3 in Dynasty right now. I mean, the good news here, if you are considering moving him, is the price tag is lofty. You're going to get a lot in return for A.J. Brown. Looking at some deals, I mean, I would say you're talking 2 first-rounders minimum. Let me pull some of the trades using the DLF trade finder. And as someone who would at least consider selling Brown, tell me if this would be enough, Matt. A.J. Brown and a mid-third, and you get the 1.09 and a 2024 first.
Most years I'd say yes. I just don't like the 1.09 this year.
Yeah, that's fair. That is a super flex league, so that helps the value a little bit. Not enough for me though. I want more than that. A.J. Brown for 107, DJ Moore and a future 2.
Super flex?
That is super flex. So
maybe if I could manipulate it for DJ Moore, future 1 and 2.07, then I'd be more apt to do it. Again, I just don't love the first round of this draft. I mean, if I'm turning A.J. Brown into Jordan Addison, that makes me sad.
Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, you get other stuff, but if that's
the Titans turned A.J. Brown into Treylon Burks, and they're pretty sad too.
Right, right.
A.J. Brown for the 103 and a 2024 1.
Close. Super flex. I mean, if I'm taking Richardson or
that's
Gibbs
super flex as well. Yeah, most of these are super flex deals. A.J. Brown for Josh Jacobs and a future 1. I mean, that's this is the range we're talking. We're talking a top, let's say top 20 to top 30 player plus a first or 2 first rounders. And I don't know. I mean,
that's not that. I thought you get more.
I thought you would get more as well. I haven't checked the value or the trade value on A.J. Brown lately. Man, here's one. This is a big one. 101 for A.J. Brown, 109 and 112. So you're getting Bijan. That's a 1 quarterback league. Bijan, you get A.J. Brown plus the 9 and the 12.
I want Brown, and I'm going to trade 9 and 12. But I would rather a Bijan than Brown.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
You know
all right.
So real quick on Brown, like we've all had that garbage team that is just, man, I don't like any of these dudes. Maybe I won the league 2 years ago and I'm paying for it now, but I have 2 really good assets and A.J. Brown's one of them, and I could turn it into 3 things. That's when I think you might consider trading them in these type of deals.
Yeah, I can get that. And I mean, no player
Future
is
picks.
Yeah, no player is untradeable, and there's team situations where you should consider trading anyone and everyone. I don't know though. Brown is, I guess,
really good.
If you're moving Brown, because I do see he's the wide receiver 3, but I see that as a pretty big tier. So if I can move Brown for Garrett Wilson and something, for Chris Olave and something, for Amon-Ra and something. Maybe I would do Jalen Waddle in that range as well. Basically, he's at the top of a pretty large second tier, in my opinion, behind those top 2 guys. So if somebody comes calling for AJ Brown, that's the type of move I want to make. Give me another wide receiver that I have in the same tier and give me something else. If I can get that done, then I'm definitely considering it.
Well, let's rewind today's podcast. You mentioned Devontae is your buy. What do you need with Devontae to give them AJ?
I think he's in kind of that same range of some of those players we were talking about. So, I mean, I probably want a first. I'm probably asking for a first, or a player of equivalent value to that.
Yeah. Devontae in a future first would get it done.
Yeah. Yep. I think
okay.
So.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. Right after this, we're going to try to identify a player we are holding on our roster from this Philadelphia Eagle team. Thanks for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen every day. Every dayers, check out tomorrow's show. We'll continue the NFC East conversation with the Washington Commanders. Buys, sells, and holds from the nation's capital. Matt, a player you're holding from this Eagles roster.
Kind of all. I mean, I wrote down three names, scratched them out, you know what I mean? I'm going to go with Goddard. I don't know that the general fandom, even the general smart dynasty player, realize how good a football player Dallas Goedert is. His yards per route run, his blocking, his athleticism. He's blocked a little bit, but I'm not saying he could be Kelsey or one of those, but I don't think he's super far off. I mean, if he was with one other stud instead of two, I mean, I think he catches 30, 40 more balls a year. And guys like him last 10 more years in the league. I mean, Brown and Smith won't, I think Goddard's a real star.
Yeah, probably not 10 more years. He is 28 years old already. Right. I mean, he's got 5 good years left for sure. I do think he's undervalued. I look at this list of Eagles, and there's 2 guys that stand out to me as players I would be holding, meaning not an obvious sell, but not somebody I'm aggressively buying either. Goddard is one of them, so I agree with you there. The other is Rashad Penny. I mean, we've talked a lot about the upside of Penny, especially after they signed him and they had let Miles Sanders walk. Obviously, that was before they made the trade for DeAndre Swift. I mean, we've seen the talent, the production from Rashad Penny. We know the issues here that he struggles to stay on the field, but quite frankly, so does DeAndre Swift. So it's not like that's a clear advantage for the new guy either. And the bottom line here is even with this, what should have been a really nice value bump for Penny, we haven't seen much change in his ADP. It's not like his value has skyrocketed. You can still buy him very easily for a second rounder, a late second rounder, maybe even less than that following the Swift trade. If I've got Penny on my roster, I'm just hanging on and hoping he can actually stay on the field.
Yeah, I mean, start him when he's healthy. When he isn't, I mean, if at RB43 price, he's big and fast, and he's good at football when he's out there on a great offense with a great offensive line. Does anything else matter at that price? Keep him, play him. Win your week.
I did want to talk, and we've obviously mentioned the name here, DeAndre Swift. If you had to put him in one of these categories, buy, sell, or hold, what are you doing with Swift right now in Dynasty?
I put him in sell and then crossed him out for Brown. The reason I crossed him out is it seems like the Lions hate him, who know him way better than I do. It seems like the Lions might be worried about his durability, who know him way better than I do. And then I crossed him out because I don't care, because he's a really good player on a really good offense and catches a lot of passes. And as you mentioned off the air, he's cheaper now than he's ever been. So I didn't put him on sell. I thought maybe the wave of everyone getting excited about him might be a value, but you're not going to get enough for him.
Yeah, I did want to talk about this. We were looking at his ADP history before we started the show here, and it really is surprising. So he enters the league in 2020. Our DLF ADP goes back for DeAndre Swift goes back 40 months. So we have 40 months of ADP data for Swift, and he has been, over those 40 months, he's been a top 36 player every single month, Matt, until the last 4 months. In February, he drops down to 40 overall. So we see the value drop. The Lions clearly were not in love with this player. We knew that throughout the season as they rode Jamal Williams into the end zone time after time, and Swift once again had some injury issues. And February is also the time that we see the new rookies coming in. So we see a lot of players losing value in February simply because they're getting pushed down with new talented players coming in. Sure. So February, a big month for players to lose value, unfortunately. That at that time, that was DeAndre Swift's lowest ADP on our record, 40 overall. He was still the RB 13 at that point, though. March, he bounces back a little bit. He's RB 36. So I'm sorry, he's 36 overall, and the RB 10 regains a little bit of value, and then it came crashing down again. April, he sets a new career low, 47 overall, and the RB 14. And then finally this month, and again, this is post NFL draft. This is post trade for DeAndre Swift. 61 overall. He is now a 6th rounder, and he's the RB 19, as we mentioned. So by far, this is the lowest DeAndre Swift's value has ever been based on our data at DLF. And I'm with you. I mean, we almost have to put him as a buy if you're getting trade. If you can acquire him in trade at that rate, at that value, if that's representative of the trade market, you've got to take a shot on this guy. We still believe in the talent, kind of like Rashad Penny. We just need him to stay on the field.
Exactly. And boy, wouldn't it be great to have one of them or both of them, and you don't want your own guys to get hurt, but if one of these guys is a standalone number one back on this team, they're going to go crazy.
Well, there's dynasty teams out there that this time last year, they thought they had the RB1 in Seattle and the RB1 in Detroit with Penny and Swift. Right. Maybe it didn't go so well last year, but you've got another chance here in Philadelphia, a really good chance that one of those guys emerges as a weekly fantasy starter, maybe even both of them. That's going to do it for our Eagles conversation and for our show today. Please make sure you download and subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Remember to follow the show at Locked On Dynasty. Follow Matt at Williamson NFL. And I'm Ryan MC23. We'll be back next time with more Locked On Dynasty.